She was alive. That's what made it unbearable. Still breathing, still trying to swim, but every movement pushed the oil deeper into her fur. 11 million gallons of crude oil, 1,300 miles of coastline, one man, one wrong decision, and a company that chose profit over preparation. To understand what was lost, you need to see what it was. Prince William Sound in 1989 was one of the last genuinely wild places on Earth. Hundreds of thousands of sea otters called it home. Mothers floating on their backs, nursing pups on their chests. Salmon run so thick they turned rivers silver. Bears, eagles, seals, an ancient unbroken food chain, unchanged for 10,000 years. But Valdez was also an oil town. The Trans-Alaska Pipeline ended here. Every few days a tanker left loaded and heavy, bound for California. It had been happening for over a decade. Everyone said the safety systems were foolproof. Exxon had thick binders of contingency plans. They sat on shelves, untested. Bligh Reef was marked on every chart, a known hazard. Every captain knew it. On March 23, 1989, the Exxon Valdez left port with 53 million gallons of crude. 2 dock workers watched it go. Neither waved. Captain Hazelwood left the bridge, handing control to a third mate not licensed for those waters. The ship was on its own. The third mate steered around ice, reasonable, but the new course aimed the ship directly at Bligh Reef. The radar was set too wide to show the reef. At 4 minutes after midnight, the Exxon Valdez struck Bligh Reef. 8 of 11 tanks ruptured on impact. Within minutes, the sea around the hull had turned black. Hazelwood radioed the Coast Guard. "We fetched up hard aground, and evidently leaking some oil." The understatement of the century. The containment booms were supposed to reach the water within 5 hours. They were buried in a warehouse. It took 14 hours. By dawn, it was already too late. The oil had spread beyond any possibility of containment. Strong Alaskan winds pushed it faster and further than any model predicted. By April 1st, 1,300 miles of pristine coastline were gone. The tide pools of Prince William Sound were among the richest on the Pacific coast. Then the black wave rolled in. 3 days later, every rock was coated in thick brown crude. No birds, no movement, the silence of a place that has just died. When a sea otter surfaces through oil, its first instinct is to groom. That reflex, evolved over millions of years, became a death sentence. Seabirds settled on their eggs coated in oil. It transferred through the shell. The chicks inside suffocated. Hundreds of thousands were trapped on the surface. Their feathers saturated, they sank slowly in the freezing water. Harbor seals stared at their changed world with no comprehension of what had happened to it. The AT-1 orca pod surfaced to breathe directly through the oil, inhaling petroleum vapors with every breath. Workers raced to boom off the salmon hatcheries. Some held, others didn't. A Cordova fisherman watched the oil reach his crabbing grounds. He had fished those waters his whole life. He didn't reach for the radio. He already knew. In the first weeks, 250,000 seabirds dead, 2,800 sea otters, 22 orcas. Most bodies never found. Volunteers flew in from across America. People who saw the news and got on a plane. A Valdez gymnasium became the largest sea otter rescue operation in history. Hundreds of animals, warm water, dish soap, teams working round the clock. Each otter required hours of careful work, removing oil from every inch of fur without traumatizing an animal close to death. When a cleaned otter rolled onto its back in fresh water, the volunteers allowed themselves one small, exhausted smile. But cleaning the outside didn't fix the inside. Oil had damaged lungs and kidneys. More than half of the rescued otters died anyway. Exxon's CEO did not travel to Alaska for 3 weeks. The mayor of Valdez used one word: betrayed. Exxon described a robust cleanup. On the actual beaches, workers scrubbed individual pebbles while oil stretched to every horizon. High-pressure hot water removed visible oil but killed everything underneath. The organisms that survived the spill were destroyed by the cure. In untreated sections, life was returning faster. Where the hoses hadn't blasted, nature was saving itself. The fishing season was canceled. Canneries closed. Fishermen nailed boards over windows. Some never reopened. 11,000 workers and 1,500 vessels covered 3,000 square miles. They recovered less than 10% of the oil. On April 1st, the president flew to Alaska, not to reassure Exxon, but to see for himself. The images from Prince William Sound shocked the country. A wilderness millions of years old, covered in crude oil in days. Exxon's executives were summoned before the Senate to answer for what had happened. A senator placed a photograph of an oil-soaked sea otter on the witness table and asked, "Can you look at this and tell me your response was adequate?" Americans cut up Exxon credit cards and mailed them back. Boycott signs appeared across the country. Public fury had a very specific address. In Cordova, the community filled the town hall for hours. Person after person described what they had lost. Nobody from Exxon was in the room. For the Alateque people, the shellfish beaches their families had worked for 10,000 years were gone. Within a year, Congress passed the Oil Pollution Act of 1990. Every tanker in American waters would now need a double hull. The gap between the two hulls of a modern tanker is roughly a meter wide, the physical legacy of Prince William Sound on every ocean. Hazelwood was sentenced to 1,000 hours of community service. No individual served a single day in prison. Exxon appealed the $5 billion verdict for 19 years, ultimately paying $500 million, while posting billions in profit annually. 33,000 plaintiffs waited 19 years. Some died before it concluded. The rest received a fraction of what had been promised. An elderly fisherman read his settlement check in 2008, folded it quietly, and put it in his pocket. 19 years. This was what it came to. Exxon renamed the tanker. In 2012, it was scrapped in India. Erasure is not accountability. 12 years later, scientists dug into the beach gravel and found oil. Still liquid, still there. The spill never ended. It went underground. 25 years. That's how long it took for the sea otter population to return to 1989 numbers. The herring has never come back. The AT-1 orca pod had 22 members in 1989. Today, it has 9. The matriarch is gone. The pod has not reproduced in years. In 2014, NOAA reached the pre-spill sea otter baseline for the first time in 25 years. They took a photograph. They were smiling. Beneath those beaches, the oil remains. Each winter storm carrying trace amounts into mussels, into fish, into the birds that eat them. In 1993, the herring population collapsed. Disease traced to oil exposure. The fishery closed. It has never reopened. In 2010, Deepwater Horizon, 210 million gallons, 87 days. Different company, different ocean. The same choice. The double hull requirement has since prevented countless spills. Every tanker after 1989 carries that lesson, paid for in oil and wildlife and time. In Cordova schools, teachers still show photographs from 1989. Their students weren't born then. Their grandparents were there. The memory is alive. NOAA has monitored the sound every year since 1989. Sea otters, recovered. Pacific herring, not recovering. The file is still open. There's a boulder called Mearns Rock, left uncleaned in 1989. Scientists photograph it every summer. The barnacles returned. Life finds its way. What happened here was not an accident in the truest sense. The equipment wasn't ready. The plan existed only on paper. The captain wasn't on the bridge. Every failure was a choice made in advance. The Exxon Valdez changed environmental law, tanker design, and the global oil industry. But it never answered the hardest question. Why does it always take a catastrophe of this scale to force change? Prince William Sound is alive again. Partly. Some things came back, some things didn't. Beautiful, permanently changed. The otter at the opening was recorded as Case 347. She survived, released 6 weeks later south of Kodiak Island. Most of her kind were not so lucky. 35 years later, the oil is still there, buried under the gravel, waiting. Prince William Sound remembers what Exxon spent billions trying to forget. If this story moved you, share it. The animals of Prince William Sound couldn't tell anyone what happened to them. We can.